Hi, everybody. My name is Michael Rosenberger, and I'm going to go through and give you an overview of the 321 Technologies course. We had a bit of a hiccup with the webinar. The beginning portion did not record correctly when my computer crashed, but Halise was able to pick it up later into the webinar. So we're going to do the intro part here, and then we're going to join that webinar in a little bit. It's still going to be about 30 minutes worth of coverage, and then you'll have a quiz that you take after this if you're watching this. You weren't able to attend and you're watching this from the course room. So let's take a look. You should be able to see my screen right now, and we're into the 321 course. You should have access to that already. So I'm going to go ahead and click the Begin Workshop. And you'll see that it's organized into modules here. So we have an introductory module, evidence and fostering reflection. We go into the tools, tips, and strategies. We look at how you're going to reflect on your own work, and you're going to actually do an assignment yourself. Then you're going to take that experience of learning about the research, the tools, and how you created your own assignment, and you're going to create an assignment for your students using reflective process, using journaling and e-portfolios. After that, you'll turn in a few assignments. We got a few things that you have to do. We're going to engage in some discussions with other classmates. We have a good class here, so I expect that we'll have some really interesting dialogue within there. And then we'll do our final assessment and evaluations as you go out. So to get started, we're going to go through Module 0, which is basically our Getting Introduced module. The workshop overview, workshop purpose is to go through and research about reflective learning practices. And again, we have quite a bit of research that you're going to look through, read, and study before we get into the tools and applications of those. So what is the 321 series, and how does this process of reflection and the tools and everything fall right into that? So the 321 series was started for a way that we can have 3 weeks to provide you with a facilitated workshop. We have 2 tools that we're going to introduce, the Google products and using Canvas. And then we have a way that at the end of doing your research, exploring the tools, going through and doing your own assignments, you're going to walk away with one assignment that you've created that you can take and implement in your class right now for a reflective process using journaling and or an e-portfolio. So our website objectives are going to include identify and discuss the evidence-based research. We're going to have you identify best practices for building effective reflective assignments. And then we're going to have you create and share reflective work through journal or an e-portfolio, and create and share an assignment using a reflective method that you're going to use in your classroom. The workshop format, as we saw, was a module format. It's designed so you can go through in a linear format, reading through the material or doing the material, then using the next or previous buttons at the bottom. At any point, you can always go up to modules. And just selectively get back into any of the areas as well. So one of the things that you want to be made aware of is this date right here. So the total length of completion is 21 days. We're starting it today, Tuesday, March 27th. You have access to the course currently, and the last assignments are due by Monday, April 16th. This is mandatory time-wise for the FPG applications and being paid. You must attend and watch and complete this portion of it to start, and then turn in your last assignments when they are due. Moving through the workshop, as I mentioned, you can use the previous and next. We're going to go ahead and do that right now. So the first section that we're looking at in the modules is kind of our getting started portion. So let me go through and talk about faculty professional growth and workshop expectations. Workshop requires about 6 hours of work. With our 3-week format, that's about 2 hours per week of work that you're going to have to do. The activities and deadlines are listed here, and you can see for each one of the sections what we're looking at for the final deadlines to make sure that we do move you through at a proper pace, not too quick, not too slow, to meet our FPG requirements. Then you have the process for completing FPG. You complete through the course, you complete the assessments and conclusion events, and then make sure you do submit your application for the FPG and the non-academic clock hours within 90 days of the event. Participation expectations. We expect you to participate in the discussions. Make sure that you turn in your assignments, follow the rubrics and instructions, and netiquette, show professionalism, courtesy, all those different things. You can go ahead and read through all the different requirements for that. This is something that's very good to have in the beginning of a class, especially with students when you're designing it, so they understand what their expectations are as well. On the next page, are you ready? Technically speaking. So many of us might be face-to-face only instructors and not have a great deal of technology experience. So we've included some information here that goes through talks about browser requirements. When we do work in Canvas, our two main browsers that we like to recommend are Firefox and Chrome. Internet Explorer can do some weird things. Safari can do some weird things. All the newer Edge, those may work, but we know for a fact that Firefox and Chrome do work very well together. So we have some different criteria for how you might use those browsers, some of the things you might run across that could be issues, but we try and give you the information to get you technically ready to be able to enter and take this course and complete all the assignments. One of the things that we really understand is that life happens. At any point in time, you might have something that comes up with kids, family, work, whatever it ends up being, and we will work with you to try to get dates adjusted, moved, work with you to get assignments and those type of things turned in so you can meet those things. However, again, due to the eligibility for FPG, the deadlines are hard and fast, so we cannot extend time beyond the final due date for the work that needs to be completed to be able to qualify for FPG. If you do have any problems, though, contact us immediately. We'll work with you and see what we can do. So in the next section, Canvas Basics. Again, as much as some of you might not have used a lot of technology, you might not have ever even touched Canvas before. So this may be your first experience in there. And at that, we include a lot of Canvas tutorials to help you get through and navigate through the course itself and use the tools that we use within Canvas. Again, if you do have any questions or problems, we're more than happy to walk you through, but we do include a page that has some basic tutorials to get you started and get you up and running. The facilitators for this, I've introduced myself. I'm Michael Rosenberger. Also today joining me in the later portion for the workshop when we did it live was Halisa Gria. And we also have our wonderful Julie Magadin. All three of us will be participating and contributing in different ways throughout the course. So you may see one or all of us contribute to questions, give feedback, grade assignments, and all that different information as we go through the course. So just be familiar with each one of us. As you ask questions, don't be surprised if all three or any single one of us actually answer. The 30-minute overview video, again, that's what this portion is if you are in the class and watching it right now. Again, we did have a few technical issues. I'm going to post this right after I get this video completed and done. What you'll need to do is review the whole video, and then I'm going to update the quiz. There are only a few questions that are going to be in here that kind of go over the highlights of what we've talked about throughout the whole session. Once you take that, you have 2 attempts. We keep the highest score. It's a 30-minute assignment, not very difficult. So if you have any questions about that, please let us know or just go through and take that. And then we're willing or able to get into the next section, which is how we introduce ourselves in the class. Because we have over a dozen people signed up for this course, we expect that there'll be quite a bit of dialogue and interest in seeing how other people tackle reflective assignments, journaling, and e-portfolios. So what we want to ask you to do is introduce yourself. Kind of get to know each other, have a discussion, explain why you're interested in taking the workshop. Have you done this type of work before? What was your experience and what do you hope to get out of the workshop moving forward? And then just respond to a few other posters in the discussion so we can keep a good dialogue going back and forth and just start off the course on the right foot. So Module 1, Evidence and Fostering through Reflection through e-portfolios and Journaling Assignments. In here, we're going to get into a lot of reading and information and look at the research and best practices that have come out from a lot of different sources. The estimated time to complete this is about 60 minutes, and that's to complete the required section of that. We have a lot of optionally awesome is what we call it. The optionally awesome is extensive. When we started getting into what reflective journalism, what reflective assignments could include, it was spiraling. There was so much great information out there. We've tried to go through and curate that information and give you very concise pieces that fit a lot of different scenarios for use. So the deadline for this module should be completed by April 14th of 2018. Each module that we go through, you're going to see a page like this where we talk about what the title is, the objective, our housekeeping notes of how long it's going to take, and when it's due. And then we're going to look at the activities. So in here, we're going to do 3 to 5 evidence-based readings. They're approximately 10 pages or 10 minutes for the videos or work. And you're going to go through and you're going to be using it for a discussion assignment where we actually dialogue about what you've pulled out of all these different pieces. The discussion is going to be based on the findings and the readings in the video. You're going to discuss with other participants the value and concerns of using reflective assignments or projects to assess learning. So within that, our first page is why we are using reflective assignments. Why do they work? So here is all the theory and evidence. And as you can see, the basics is what we start out with. What is the common findings, lessons learned, value added to learning, detractions to learning, and other things that stand out as far as what reflective learning brings into a classroom. So underneath, we have the educator's bookshelf, and each one of these resources has a link, talks about the author, and then gives just a brief about what you can expect to read in each one of those. There's probably a lot of good information out there. We have a discussion board. You can see right here, we have a discussion board. So if you've got information on reflective learning, the processes, journaling, e-portfolios, whatever you want that we don't include there that you think, oh my God, everybody needs to see this, please do share it in the resource discussion board. Add that information in there because we're always trying to build and improve these courses. While we go through and curate a lot of information, there may be something that we miss because there is so much out there on it. So go through each one of these, review each one, and see what kind of information is provided for each of these pieces of content. The Optionally Awesome, as I mentioned, these are not required pieces. However, there is so much great information out there. If you have a couple 10 minutes to like 6 hours to be able to go through that, there is a lot of great information that we provide on there. This spirals out of just reflective learning. There's universal design for learning and making meaning, becoming better reflective educators, where the process of when students are using reflective learning, how you implement, do, and reflect on your own process portion of their reflective learning. More on e-portfolios, and more on journaling. So if you have time, please do make sure you go through that. Do review the required information as we move forward so we can get into the discussion. So the next portion of this is we are discussing the evidence. And here we're going to look for you to take an initial post, look between all the different pieces that you've read or viewed, what are the common findings? What kind of lessons have you learned from that you're taking away from the collective information? You can bring out specific pieces of each one of those, but collectively, what are the lessons learned? Look at the value add to teaching and learning that you see coming from using reflective assignments. List any concerns you might have of implementing these type of practices and other things that stand out to you. So what we ask is when we do these discussions, because we have a short time frame, just like any discussions in a class, we want people to be forefront of doing their work, and then you can post responses as the week progresses. We don't want to wait till the end of the week to post your initial findings because you won't get any dialogue response or other people won't have anything that they can respond to. So try and get through the material as fast as you can, as best as you can, and then get your initial post put in there and then respond to the other posts that you see in there. And of course, we want you to look at grounding in evidence, challenging assumptions and deepening knowledge, reflect on the new learning gain or insights. So just different ways you can provide additional information, clarification. So we're looking at about approximately 100 words when you do respond to those. So that's the characteristics of a thoughtful response. We're looking at about 20 minutes for you to complete this. You can spend more, but it probably will take you about 20 minutes. One of the things you'll notice is this Canvas Help Corner. Again, if you aren't familiar with Canvas, on each one of the assignments, modules, discussions, quizzes, we try and include a just quick link in case you forgot how to do it or don't know how to respond to a discussion or use discussions. That link is available within there. So Module 2, this is where we picked up with the webinar. So we're going to get back to that and take a look at the tools that are involved. Well, that didn't work out well.
No, it didn't because yours stopped. That's all right. I'm recording again. All right. So let me see. Invite.
It should be up at the top to the right. Give remote access. It's a drop down usually.
Remote access.
If not, I can talk through and just tell you when to go. It's pretty quick.
Just tell me when to go.
Okay, so in Module 2, what we're going to do is we're going to go over the tools that we've selected for doing ePortfolios and journals. So on the next page, actually this page here, estimated time of completion is 40 minutes for you to go through the material. I'm not responsible for the amount of time that you get engulfed into playing with the technologies, because it is a fun experiment for you to go through, try all the different features and whatnot, and 40 minutes will get you through the basics, but you're more than welcome to spend as much time as you need. So within the tools, we start out by talking about ePortfolios and journals themselves, and then what the tools really need to support to make journaling and ePortfolios functional. Now, what we've done is we've broke these out into separate pieces, but they also tie together. So over the next 4 pages, what we're going to do is we're going to break out the ePorts, the 2 ways you can do those. Then we're going to look at the journaling options. So the first one is Google Drive and Google Sites. Google Sites is a way that you can create basically a website. All these are free tools that are available through your login with your Maricopa. The document that we have for you actually will walk through how you want to organize Drive content in your Google Drive for your ePortfolio to make it easy if you're going to use a Google site or if you're not going to use a Google site. So for students, this is a document that you might even use to template for how you support your students further on down the road. Click the little pop-out for the document there, right next to where it says click the pop-out arrow to view. So one of the things you can do is if you don't like those little windows, they are in there for you to view, but if you didn't know, you can click the document or the pop-outs, and this will go through, oh, there it goes.
Sorry.
Wow. And you can read the whole document in its own window. Then you can just go ahead and close it when you review the information. The next page, so that's the first tool, Google Drive with Google Sites. And the next one, we're going to look at ePortfolios and Canvas. We do talk about the benefits of each and kind of the negatives of using each one of those. So you're really going to be able to choose whether you want to do the Drive and Site solution or whether you want to use ePortfolios. One of the things you will notice, it says video coming. So we'll create these handouts and documents, but a lot of times, even with all the little pointers you see where sections, pages, and arrows going everywhere, it's nice to have a video. So I'm working on those videos. Those will be out in the next few days and posted within each one of these tutorials that basically walk you through the handout step by step so you can actually visually see what we're doing within each one of those tools. Journaling with Google Docs. Docs is pretty straightforward. If you've used it before, it's like Microsoft Word. There's a few tips and tricks for how you can either create one long journal entry page, so a student could turn that in, or you could turn that in as a single URL, or just creating individual pages for each one of your journal entries. That also goes in how you would add those into either a Google site or in the ePortfolio in Canvas. And then the last option you have is journaling with Canvas portfolios, how you're going to use sections and pages with text tools to create journals as well, or have your students create journals as well. So those are the 4 tools you can go through. Go ahead to the next section. Actually, yeah, I think the only thing in there was the cool tips. So you get a quiz in there. Just pay attention. There's one on the overall what you want in a tool for journaling and ePortfolios, and then just one question from each one of those tools to kind of drive in the important piece of each one of those. And that's Module 2, is the tools, tips for designing the ePortfolios and journals. So
now we go into reflecting on your own work. So as I mentioned earlier, we call it eating your own dog food. And so in order to do that, we want to help you become reflective practitioners and then use the tools to do your own reflection. But rather than having you reflect on something arbitrary, we wanted to do something that would be useful to your practice as educators and something that would make sense for you to reflect on. So again, the module tells you what we're going to be doing, how long it will approximately take, and when that information is due, and then the activities. So in this particular module, what we're going to have you do is we need you to be able to reflect on something. And so we're going to invite you to take the Teaching Perspectives Inventory. And this is an inventory about your core beliefs as a teacher, as an educator. It's a really helpful survey if you've never taken it. If you have taken it before, it's still probably worth taking again because it's something that may change over time as well. So this is a free survey that you'll get to take. And it's going to have, it's a 45 item survey, and it's going to give you some understanding of your perspectives and how you express those through your teaching. And so they are called the 5 perspectives, and that's what the TPI is going to give you. So what we're going to ask you to do with this information that you get from the TPI is to create a journal where you reflect on your TPI results. And I'll show you that here in a second. And we're going to have you take those results a little further by writing a teaching and a teaching philosophy. Now, if you already have a full philosophy, that's great. You can then just use the TPI to further inform that teaching philosophy statement that you have, and you can submit that. If you don't have a teaching philosophy, you do not have to build an entire philosophy. What we're asking you to do instead is to focus on parts of your TPI, reflect on those in your journal, and then also share those in your portfolio. So that's the next 2 assignments, which I'm going to show you. This particular page does give you some good information, though, on writing teaching philosophies. So we encourage you to check that out as well. So here's the dog food part. So you are going to take the TPI. You're going to reflect on the results. Be sure that you look at the prompts here that tell you how you're going to reflect on those results. You're going to write and submit a journal entry using this Google Doc assignment template. And then you're going to submit that to us. And that's between you and us as the facilitators. No one else will actually see that particular document. So that is your reflective journal piece. The next piece is actually creating your own portfolio. And what you'll do is you'll write a draft of your teaching philosophy, and you will find at least 2 to 3 artifacts that support how you do that as an educator, or even it could be professional development that you've done or would like to do around those particular perspectives. You'll use either Google Sites or Canvas to create your portfolio, and then this will actually be shared with everyone in the class, okay? So there's 2 pieces in this work. One is the pre-journaling, which is going to help you do this next part, and then in this part, you're actually going to submit the portfolio. And it's going to be very bare bones skeleton portfolio that you're being asked to do. You're basically going to set it up, and it explains here, you know, you'll have a bio page, a page for your reflections, and a page for your artifacts, and that's basically it. So it's just to get you started with the idea of what building a portfolio would be like. All right, and so then finally, right, you've learned about the pedagogy, you've learned about tools to support that pedagogy, you've done the pedagogy yourself from a student perspective by doing your own reflection and doing your own reflective work. And the last piece is to build your own assignment that you could immediately implement technically if you wanted to in one of your courses, or implement it in a future course. So again, the module outlines what's required. how many hours it requires, and when it is due, and what is due. So part of designing assignments, we really believe that well-designed assignments need to be designed according to a transparency method. And that sounds super fancy for basically saying that all assignments should have basically three things: the purpose, the tasks, and the criteria. So we outline this so that when you submit your work, it meets those three requirements for a well-written assignment. That way students don't have to decode it. So this explains how to write an assignment to that particular criteria. If you've not written learning objectives or things like that before, there's resources on that as well. There's a particularly helpful Bloom's taxonomy for reflection specifically, which you may want to check out. I've never seen that before, and I came across it during my flurry of research, and I was like, oh, I totally nerded out. So that is really particularly helpful because it gives you question prompts for reflection according to the Bloom scale. And I was like, whoosh, that's awesome. So I would definitely check that out. So that is just that piece of it, how to write a good assignment, because that's half the battle, is writing a good assignment. And then from there, we provide a gallery of resources to help you decide what's the format of your reflective work that you're going to give the students look like. What are you going to be assessing and grading them on? And what are some things to consider when assessing and grading those works? And then we also provide some preparation ideas, like how to get students ready for reflective work, because not surprisingly, they're not necessarily that good at it. So it's helping them get to that place where they do more than describe stuff and move to that deeper idea of what it really means to be a truly reflective learner. So this outlines when to introduce reflection in your course, because you can do it before, middle, during, end, etc., or a cycle. Formats, and here are all these different things, again, tip of the iceberg, but all different formats that you could consider with the resources. You can link and check them out. Some of these places I'm super jealous of, like LaGuardia Community College, has been doing ePortfolio work since like 2002. It makes me weep. It is an amazing collection of learning I've ever seen. It's impressive. So just go over there to look. It's so great. Preparations, like I said, and then these are examples of rubrics that you can use to assess the student learning, etc. Again, if you find something in your investigations, yay, please definitely share it on the board and tell us about it. And then finally, putting it all together, you're going to create your assignment, submit it, okay? And then there'll be a peer review component. And your assignment will be written to the TILT method. It needs to include that purpose, all the tasks, the structure, and everything in place so that literally you could give that assignment tomorrow. And so that's that piece of it. You'll also notice throughout the course, we embed Canvas support. So if you have questions or concerns about that particular piece, it's usually right here for you as well. The reflective assignment piece does have a template to help you hit the objectives, so you should be able to do that as well. Then finally, we have a high five, where we just ask you to reflect again on what you've learned. And then the evaluation. So that is the course. And then we will actually also follow up with you after the fact to see if you did implement the assignment, how did it go, if you have examples, because that helps us close the loop and see, okay, are these things, you know, did this help you successfully do that? And what were the actual outcomes that the students had what was the work they produced, and did that meet your expectations? So questions, concerns, thoughts with 2 minutes left.
Is that it?
I have a question.
Sure.
Yeah.
Because I always do. I'm not currently teaching a class. I'm done teaching for the previous campus I was on, Gateway. I'm actually working on hopefully securing a course in the next semester or two. So I might start building that thing from scratch. So I'm going to kind of build to a non-existent, non-awarded class. So it's a real course with real competencies, but doesn't exist. So is that something, or should I
that's great.
use
Absolutely.
a previous course I've taught and kind of work from things I've done in the past?
That would be perfect. Yeah, that would be perfect. It's sort of, you may not have the exact details, but it may just be sort of a hypothetical, like, hey, I'm going to have students do reading response journals throughout the course, and here's what that would look like.
Okay.
So it can be a discrete assignment if you want, like, okay, I'm going to have them do one journal exercise, or you can write a bigger semester-long assignment using one of these. And things like ePorts and journals, a lot of times that's what it's going to be. It's going to be sort of this larger piece. So you may just be at this point scoping out what that's going to look like. And then there'll be supports throughout the semester to get students to the end goal.
Okay, because I know this seems more relevant for the EDU 250 I just used to teach.
Mm-hmm.
I would not be teaching that because there's reflections every week. So I might try to go back to that if it seems more relevant, but I'll figure it out when we get into the first week if I want.
And just ask us to send us a
I will.
message or send a message to the crew.
We're available for support throughout the course, so don't be afraid to ask anything, discuss anything that you need.
Great, thank you.
Anything else? I think we're going to run out of time here.
Yes. We use free accounts, so it's always like every single minute counts.
All right. Well, as you get started, just let us know if we need to answer any questions or if anything comes up. We will get all the information updated. If you do have questions, a lot of times we do answer those in announcements, so be sure to check announcements frequently. So if you're struggling with something, you may find that other students are also struggling with that, and we do those in announcements so everybody has access to that information. So make sure you do check those at the top, recent announcements. Do we sound like faculty talking to students? Yes. Check your announcements often, daily when you log in.
And we will publish the course now, so you can start poking around and get your work done for this week. We think it's paced fairly well. It's basically 2 hours a week is what you have to do. But if you have any questions or concerns, like Michael said, just reach out.
All right. Thank you very much. We look forward to seeing you in the class.
Bye.
Yeah, my computer just completely blanked again. So, oh well.
Okay. Well, and if you want to